You've heard the expression that time is money. That is true. But in order to really understand why is time is money, we need to go back to the beginning. So, in corporate America, the way that things work, you get a job nowadays, is that people trade their time for money. Because essentially, money is value. Money is value. Which means that when you have a business, you have to sell something. That's what the world is. The world is selling. So everyone's trying to sell something. Now, everyone does something to sell, even if you don't think you do. If someone has a company and there is a businessman, he's the CEO, and he has a bunch of employees. Well, the businessman is giving out books, and people give him money. So he sold the books, they gave him money. Now here's what's interesting. The employees are actually selling the CEO something. They're selling him. He is giving them money. Okay, that's a good thing, right? The CEO, I'll pay you to work. So what are they selling the CEO? You could say it's labor. You could say it's work. But something that is much more valuable that they're actually selling is time. They are selling him their time. Now, it seems like a fair trade, right? I work for you for 5 hours, and I'll give you $40. Okay, sweet. That's $8 now. Okay, well, not nowadays. Okay, 5 hours. If you got $20 an hour, that's $100, right? That's amazing. These employees all get $100. So he's giving them $100. That's amazing, right? Wrong. Because when you look at it, this is how you can tell anything. With any society, this is the case. I have these two resources, time and money. They are resources that people have. You've also got your youth, your age, your energy, things like that. But when it comes to what we are really doing as businessmen and women of America, what are we actually out here to accomplish? The point of a business is to liberate you from a life of working. So, if you are an employee, instead of you're giving your time away, you can get it back by paying someone else to do something. Most people do not know this. Time is the most valuable resource that you have. And I know that's said a lot, that is sort of preached in a lot of forums to people around the world. That is not understood. I don't think you understand how valuable time is. Time is valuable for so many reasons. It's valuable for so many reasons. Because you cannot get it back. Renewable. It's not renewable. Alright? It is continuously leaking. So right now, even as you're watching this video, you're using time. That's why these are two values that are ever present in this world and have always been relevant to each other. You can go into economics. Why? Scarcity, money. Why do we have the dollar? It pays for gold. But then something much more valuable is time. The gold, you can only do so much with it. So they invented the paper note to say, hey, this is how much money you have. Of course, the banks, our money's not backed by gold anymore, but that's an entire different elephant to tackle. What I'm talking about here is about why time is more valuable than anything. You need to become what I call a time Jew. Where Jewish people are known for just getting money, money, money. You need to look for time. And saving time. Because that, like I said, is the point of the CEO. The CEO, he can focus on selling if he's got 3 employees. If he pays, he's giving money for time. Again, the original analogy right here. Actually, instead of equal, it should be like this. You might be wondering, especially if you're really young, why would I give away money for something I can do myself? Listen, young man, that is because if you give away money for someone else to do something you do yourself, you get extra time. And depending on what you do with your time, it could be much more valuable than $100. So the CEO is the one winning. He's the one actually laughing his way all the way to the bank. Not because he's evil, because he's smart. Money can buy you freedom, but only time can buy you money. That's simply how this works in this reality. Is that time and money are ever linked, but instead of being equals, one is much more valuable than the other. Yes, it is cyclical and they do go together. But time is way more valuable. I'm telling you. And as you get older, you start to understand this. The reason this is not a commonly held belief, a lot of people have money over time. That's what people think. The reason that is because it is predicated on what you do with your time and how you live your life. So, 15 minutes for me is not the same as 15 minutes for you. Or a lot of lazy people who don't do anything. Think about it. I'm saying time is much more valuable because the CEO, he buys his free time, all right? With that time, he's an author, right? Write more. He could invest money. He could see his family. He could travel. All of these things, by the way, would get him more money. He writes more books, he gets more money. He invests in money, he gets more money. By seeing his family, he's a bit more happier that day and he's more of in an upbeat mood to work 5 more hours. He gets more money. Time, not all time is created equal. And I might make that the title of the video. Not all time, I'll say it again, not all time is created equal. Because that is a preposition. It is based entirely on what you do with your time. Most people's time is not very valuable to a lot of poor people. And this is something that you've been tricked into doing, psyoped into thinking, is that this only works if your time is valuable, which is good news and bad news. So I provide you with a third currency, or I suppose a second currency. There's money. People think that's just it. Time is really the key. And you don't realize this until you start using your time effectively. You start to think, how can I need more time. How can I use my time more efficiently? How can I do more with my time? How can I be more efficient just in life? How can my time provide me with more value? That is what you need to be thinking. And by attaining more time, you have more options. Because the thing with gold, like I said, gold is a bar. It's very valuable, it's very rare. So in the ancient world, people would trade it to other people for stuff. Like clothes, women, and food. Then we move on to the dollar. So we're not bartering anymore. You can trade people physical value for something that you want. But when it comes to time, time is, the reason I said it is the most valuable because it's non-renewable, continuously flowing, and you're constantly losing more of it. You need to be thinking every single day, how can I get more time? And how can I do more with the time that I get? And you need to hold on to the time that you have. I'm not talking about just to have a happy life. No, it is do something with that time that is more valuable than money. Because sometimes the experience is time. Is much more valuable than money. The memories, all these things, money cannot buy. I know it sounds all nice and happy and positive, and it is. For the most part, it's a double positive because it is a thing that people tell themselves to sort of cope with life. But at the same time, doing this is going to get you much more richer. Or I suppose I should say wealthier. Rich is just having an abundance of money. But you could have a CEO who works for 16 hours a day and he has a lot of money. But you won't want to be him because you don't have as much time. He cannot decide what he wants to do with his time. So when it comes to working, you need to think, how can I get paid based on not my time, but my effort? Or switch these around. Instead of paying money for random useless nonsense, or wasting time when you could have saved money, start asking yourself, how can I use my money to get more time so I can then get more money?